was gonna say. Let me turn this off really quick. No, this is tough. Okay, so let me see. So from here, I'm gonna.
My cousin,
How's the call?
dude. I played, what did I play? Shadow Creek.
How cold is it in the winter?
50.
Feel kind of like here.
It's Vegas, but without the wind. The mountain peaks all around you have powdered sugar dusted in the top, but you don't have snow on the ground.
What do you do?
Yeah. Probably the same thing I do in Arizona. I take off and I go visit my sister in Ashland. I go play a week tournament up at Lake Almanor.
Maybe keep your mental hair.
Oh, this will always be here because, well, yeah, because I need that for every time I come to work. And then I'll spend some time here. I'll go to Tahoe. The same thing I did last year, because it's hot for 2 months there.
Everybody got the memo to wear a blue, except for Shauna. God, don't look too deeply into Shauna's eyes. You may not survive it.
You think you made that of your own free will.
Yeah. She's casting one right now.
A lot of people are under Shauna's spell.
Didn't see that. How nonchalantly she did that. She didn't even look up.
And then
She cast it.
She doesn't need to.
No, okay, thought a major one. We double check. We'll get you. Okay, yeah. Transportation point. Oops.
Hey, Brian,
Hmm.
you guys get through the sticky part last? Oh, there's Melissa. Anyway. Thanks for covering for the last one. Did you get through the sticky part on? How we're gonna.
Actually, 10 minutes.
Oh.
But it's a drive.
We discussed it last meeting. And what's his name? He will do research and report this week.
Ah, okay, so that's on here then.
He will give a report.
Okay.
But we, asked.
Was it convoluted? You didn't get too deep.
He said, ask him to prepare something and come back this week.
Yeah, we didn't get real deep. It could have been, it can be a sticky thing.
Yeah, they were discussing. And some people. They cannot attend or.
Some people shouldn't be on there. That's.
And they should not be here, so here we.
You gotta sit that way, all you see at the back of your head is that watch.
And
Watch the
All right, well, we'll see his report. Are we quorumed?
You do have a forum?
Oh, awesome. Okay, good. All right. I don't know this gentleman. So, welcome. Meeting has come to order and thank you guys for coming. Thanks to the Wicked Witch. No, that's a good witch. That's not the Wicked Witch. It's a good witch. Anyways, thank you guys for coming. Thanks, Mosa, and everybody for covering for me last month. We'll do self-introductions to start with. I'm John Bly with the Engineering Contractors Association, and we'll go this way.
Mark Soylan, District 2.
Tom Banning, District 3.
You might drop. Got another microphone, don't worry. You can break that one too.
You got a couple of them over there, yeah.
Mark Hale, Building Industry Association.
Is it supposed to be facing?
There's a trick.
The neck age difference. Okay, you're good.
Is it my turn?
Oh, yeah.
Angela Conti, Paratransit, Coordinating Committee.
Welcome. Thank you. Don't throw the mic at me.
Jerry Glazer, North Bay Electric Auto Association. Why do I have to read it every time?
Yeah, just rolls off the tongue, right?
Kelly McNerney, I'm filling in for Rick Luckman from League of Women Voters. He's in Rome for 4 months.
David Harris, this is my second meeting representing the Sonoma County Transportation Land Use Coalition, which the seat was previously occupied by Jake McKenzie.
Oh, okay, good. All right, thank you. Nice to
And
meet you.
Steve Bertelbaugh is actually the chair of the Transportation Land Use Coalition, but he comes here as a representative of Sierra Club,
Yeah.
but I don't see him today.
Okay.
Brian Ling, fourth district rep.
Musa Abbasi representing the Santa Rosa Chamber.
Let's go to our fan base back there and see who's in the crowd applauding us.
First morning, SCTCA.
Shauna Gauze, SCTCA.
Mike Berger, City Sonoma.
Ashley Cotter, City of Sonoma. Seth Britt, SCTCA.
Adam Garcia, SCTCA.
David Frey, SCTCA.
Brenton Hare, SCTCA.
Ross Clendenin, SCTCA.
Don Gooch, SCTCA.
And I don't see anybody. Oh, yeah, there's.
Margot Kanyas, SCTCA.
Gina Erickson, Santa Rosa.
Okay, thank you. Mike, how you doing up back there, Berger? I didn't see you hiding back there. Good to see you. We gave Mike and his group an award last year at their public officials night, so thank you for coming. All right. Anyways, we're on to public comment on items not on the regular agenda. Do we have any? Seeing none, we'll move on to administrative items and the September 29th meeting minutes. So aptly and quickly run by Mosa. I heard all about it. You finished way early.
So do the same job.
Yeah, I'm trying. All right, so looking for a motion to approve the minutes from September 29th as written.
I'll make a motion.
Good job.
Very good. A little quicker. Don't just stall,
Yeah.
make it go over time. Any second?
Second those.
Any discussion of the minutes as written? Corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Say no if you don't like them, and I'll say I'm abstaining. Thank you, and Jerry abstained too. All right, update on CAC membership with executive committee input.
Good afternoon, CAC members. So continuing the discussion on membership, we took the comments received at the last meeting to the SCTCA Executive Committee meeting back earlier in the month, right before the board meeting. And so basically, first off, name change approved. We'll no problem there. And the next part, so legal counsel advised, we dug real deep basically into not just Go Sonoma, but obviously the Measure M CAC formation, which was part of it from the beginning and part of the measure language. So legal counsel advised against making major additions. However, they did not see a problem with removing vacant organizations. So we can move forward with that because we do have some. And by the way, all this will be going to the board in early 2026, basically. But the broader discussion that came up between the board members, the exec committee members, and what we'd like to get a little discussion on is coordination between this committee, CAC, and the climate side as our organizations are moving together. What was formerly the RCPA Climate Action Advisory Committee. We know that CAC has its own work to do. However, on climate things, they wanted to see about the possibility of some collaboration. And so they suggested the formation of an ad hoc group with members of the CAC, members of the CAAC, and board members. So what I'm looking for today, basically is two things, just discussion on this item, as well as seeing about appointing some members to an ad hoc.
Just so, because I wasn't here last month, where did that request come from? Who was asking for it, and what are they tasking the ad hoc committee with doing?
So this was basically tasked by the executive committee. So this is, what is it? 5 or 6 of the board members and our
Okay.
executive director. And basically set up a meeting with some members from the CAC, some from the CAAC, just to discuss collaboration on items that have bearing for both.
The definition of ad hoc means it has a task to do, the task is completed, the committee is gone.
Right. So I need to get more specific information on that task. The basic, oh, sit right here, Carol. Yeah. Okay, yeah, no problem. But basically that task is just to see where collaboration could occur. They just felt like things were kind of disparate, and as the organization is coming together and climate goals and transportation goals were coming together, that there was a good chance for some collaboration. So that's what I got from them. Mr. Chair, in regards to your earlier question, just about the discussion, I mean, basically, I mean, the main things that we interpreted were there was frustration with having organizations, you know, on the roster that could not send people, and it sounds like we can adjust that. We can remove that. We suggested having and based on discussion here, having kind of a streamlined process to be able to add new organizations. There was a lot of talk about possibly education, you know, and people also made some good points about how, I don't know, the ups and downs of that, but just some other, you know, younger community organizations. But legal counsel was not super hot on just adding new organizations quickly, but they were okay with getting rid of vacant ones. So there you go.
Don't add for right now.
Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
However, this discussion could go further. So I'm gonna turn it over to the committee, and basically for discussion and potential interest in joining an ad hoc.
Let's start with Jerry and then go to Musa.
First of all, I'd be interested in ad hoc.
Okay.
Members of the other group that I need, time to time anyway.
Yep.
So you know that, because that's an interest of mine. The one thing about dropping some of the organizations, having been one of the organizations that was about to be dropped. The point was first make sure that we're able to make communication with them and get positive communication back, and then have them say, yes, we want to be dropped. If they don't want to be dropped, then they have to identify who's going to be there, and then just tell them what you had passed before I joined, which was, hey, if you don't show up 3 times, this was not happen.
And just to respond to that, at least 3 of those organizations said basically that we just.
You can't find anybody, yeah.
In the case of the North Bay Auto Association, the contact information we had was the wrong contact information. It wasn't until Zano said something about, you know, we have a seat on that committee. Nobody had ever mentioned it.
Okay, Musa.
In fact, in the same line, I would not support, you know, removing an organization, you know, probably suspend an organization so as we will not take it into the quorum, you know, requirements. And if they will come back, you know, they want to join, you know, we can, you know, join them back to the group, you know.
That's a question you could take back to legal that way.
Yep.
If an organization is dropped and they said, oh, wait, now we're interested.
But what I am suggesting, not to drop, you know, the organization, just suspend the organization, you know, from the quorum purposes.
Well, that is essentially what's happening with the vacancy process. You know, I mean, the reason that we made a quorum today is because we have 6 vacancies on the committee.
But what I'm trying to say, like this organization, either suspend it or remove it temporarily. And if they want to join, they can join back, that's the thing, But we don't show it on our, roster that an organization here. Regarding the other item, which is the ad hoc committee or group, I have a question, what's the size of this committee or ad hoc? And how often will it meet?
Right.
And how many people of our group here we are looking for to join that ad hoc committee?
That's a great question. I do not have a clear answer to that. Basically just gauging interest. I assume that we would start, we'd probably bring the same item to the CAAC on the 14th of next month, and then schedule a meeting after that. But I know it gets difficult with the holidays, so I don't actually have a number. I'm assuming we're talking just a couple members, but I apologize for not having that.
Yeah, Brian.
I just, on combining the two, transportation and climate, I would personally, that's my personal interest and professional and personal experience is all about transportation. That's why I'm here, for transportation. I don't have the intensity or knowledge or frankly, a lot of the concerns that the climate do. And if we're going to be directing climate, I just don't feel I have the qualifications to sit on a committee that's climate oriented. Conversely, I feel I'm very experienced to sit on transportation oriented.
Sure.
So if we combine them, I'm not sure how that would work. I don't know if we every other month, maybe we change agendas or, I don't know, but and part of being here is to learn and education stuff I don't know too. So, I mean, there's an advantage at that, but I don't know. It just, to me, they're two separate topics that should be separate
I
committees.
didn't hear that.
It is not combining.
Let's go one at a time, guys. Go ahead, Mosa.
I don't think what I'm hearing, it is not combining the two groups in one. This group will stay and just coordination ad hoc, group. That's what I thought,
That's not what I heard.
Well, my impression because that was my concern actually when I heard what the executive committee said as well, but my impression of that is that due to the measure language, CAC has to be CAC. So that wouldn't really change. It's more that occasionally there would be items where there would be collaboration. How that works, I'm not sure.
70% of our greenhouse gases come from transportation in our county, which is much higher than the other counties. That's the reason for them coordinating, because we have large impact.
So, but I think point very well taken about expertise in the various sides. But I think what the exec committee was bringing up is basically just that the goals are, the expertise may be a little different. The goals are often the same. But remains to be seen, whether there's collaboration or not, but that's why they wanted to form the ad hoc.
Tom?
I'm just curious, what the RCPA advisory committee, what typically is on their agenda? If transportation is, if it's climate-based, is it traffic studies, some kind of emission dispersal studies? What are they doing?
Actually, both of those things have been brought up. I know Adam Garcia has been working on the travel behavior study, which has been brought to this group. It's also been brought to the CAAC, the climate, the dashboard. So yeah, emissions, I think that's been a big one. More and more, we've actually been bringing some of the same items that have come to CAC to them to start giving them a flavor of the transportation work. But a lot of the other things they're working on, a lot of it is really coordination. There's so many climate efforts in Sonoma County. It's getting folks in the same room, messaging, marketing, home improvements, home efficiency, a lot of that. So it's a pretty wide swath. I won't, yeah. But that's just top of my head.
Yeah, David is.
David, that's right, you
Right.
got it, John. Well, I certainly commented last time about adding representation of youth or the student era, being a parent of.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I know I'm older than you. I'm older than you, but I have, unlike most of you, a 21-year-old daughter. And the main climate impact influence I've had on her is she believes in driving electric vehicles. She's a little less conversant with public transit, although she will ride the SMART and the ferry to the city with me. And actually, she had organized last fall 9 of her work colleagues to do the same. And, we need to engage those kids because once they've got their car, their interest in public transit goes down. And the sooner we can engage the younger generation and how much involving in this committee is going to do it. But I think the student body at both the JC and Sonoma State and maybe the high school should be involved in some kind of organization where, because they do think different than we do, folks. And how we engage with them is important. The other thing, though, I wanted to comment about, I was surprised last time, concerns about the Brown Act. I've served on public entities before where I think the interpretation by the attorneys was basically to try and control the amount of public participation. Because I talked to the attorneys in Sacramento with the Council of County and City Governments, and they said as long as what's happening is being equally dispersed to the members and the public, they don't physically have to be present in the same room. And that did not sound like the interpretation you've been getting.
That's not the interpretation we're working under right now.
Right.
However, SB 707, the legislation that's coming up, is actually, I think, going to have some positive effects for this committee, particularly involving people that have disabilities and being able to attend. There's some additional carve-outs. I know, and we also will be there's some more security concerns, so we'll be switching to webinar format, but I don't want to get away too far from this.
Yeah, that would directly affect me because I can't.
Ross, I'm confused. In fact,
Physically.
are we talking about combining the two committees or
Not
this committee will stay and they will stay? Because this group is advisory, a citizen advisory for a mayor,
Yeah.
We cannot just combine another group,
Exactly, and that's not. My impression is that's not what was suggested. It was more, let's see if there's a few places that, we can join forces, but I think the measure requires this group to basically stay the same.
And the other question, regarding the roster, can we make a motion, or now, or just a discussion,
I mean, basically what will happen is we'll be taking a recommendation to the board at the first meeting next year. Not sure if that's going to be January or February at this point, but there'll be a recommendation from CAC on that.
If this is the case, I look at the roster, I would put a motion to remove Sonoma County taxpayers. They did not attend any meeting.
Yeah.
The Sonoma County Farm Bureau, North Bay Labor Council, North Bay Association of Realtors, and Sonoma County Tourism. And
those are the current vacancies.
but can we?
This meeting happens on some big meeting that tourism has repeatedly.
But can we spell it out in a motion that we can send it to the board,
Okay, we're not ready for that motion quite yet, right? We're gonna go over here first. Jerry, hang on.
Over there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about was there a financial reason by combining the two committees?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I just want to speak to David's point on youth, and I've been on multiple committees where we had a seat for youth. Getting them to show up for multiple meetings and continue is always difficult. It would be really great though, because it's one of the things that we're seeing across the bay. We're seeing more youth riding on transit than it has in the past, especially because of the things we've done here in our county and other places. But I would like us to send a recommendation that we find a way to do that. And I would suggest, because it blew me away when somebody gave us the report the other day, there's 25,000 people registered with the JC here. That number floored me. I'm going, the size population of 25,000 are registered with the JC. Okay, that sounds like a body that maybe ought to be there. And that they would send a representative, and I think the JC is probably substantial enough that they can make sure that somebody showed up on a regular basis. And that would be the kind of thing I think would be worthwhile. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think it would have to be like they have 3 people or something and that they rotate among or something. You can't, you're not likely to get one student who's going to give you the continuity meeting to meeting, but it's better to have somebody here than nobody.
Even if they weren't students, but they represented the students because they're working with them every day and they understand the concerns of the students.
Yes.
These SRJC students are taxing themselves to pay for free student buses, which is just fabulous. So obviously somebody is being very active, and I think that's the proof of it.
We do have some contacts at the JC as well, for sure.
Mark?
Is there any opportunity with some of our delinquent groups to see if they could reach out to students and maybe have a student represent them and then report back?
Be a possibility.
On the same, nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, on the same topic, if we are bringing students, I suggest also, because we are a county-wide organization, it's Sonoma State, and Sonoma State and the JC, they have student government. Every year they elect representatives, and we want a student to represent them, not just, you know, one of these organizations. Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of thrown a lot of stuff at us.
Yep.
And I kind of like to go back to what we started with, which what Melissa was talking about too. Are we at the point where we can entertain a motion to drop some of these members that have not been participating, not just this year, but since I've been on this committee, I've never seen anybody from any of these.
I believe so. However, I may offer if it's okay with the committee, the option that Mark brought up. You know, if they're able to have, I mean, just if they can appoint some other representative, but my understanding is that most of them cannot, and I'd be okay with the motion. Yeah.
And let me just go back because there's some, you know, senior knowledge here. That's been asked and answered over the years. I mean, as we go through and have this discussion every year, it seems like we've gone, I mean, I know I personally talked to the realtors, I don't know how many different times, and they just, you know, Lisa had nobody to show up for it. And it's like, okay, well, it's important. So I really don't know how much traction we'll get out of that, but I know that staff has gone back and asked these groups repeatedly, but it should be a part of the actual motion or the guidelines in how we're removing them.
Okay.
So in other words, if we make a motion to remove them, the next step should be staff reaches out to that organization, which is I think what you were asking for, Mark. And before it's accepted, we hear what at the next meeting, perhaps we hear what their response is. I think that's fair. If we don't hear back from them, it's done. Is that a fair synopsis of what you were asking for,
All
Mark?
right, John, I think you need to hear back from them and have them say, remove us. My experience, because of my experience, not hearing is different than saying, yeah, we're not interested.
I'm cool with that, yeah. I'm just
In most cases. we
trying to
have-
move the ball forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why that.
Understood.
go
yeah.
ahead, Mark.
I'm a little unclear. Do, like, the bylaws essentially that created this committee, did they create these individual seats? So, because you said we can't really change or add new ones, so is there, I mean, do we really kick them off, or are they just kind of suspended? If they ever want to come back on, they can?
Kind of suspended, I mean, based on, the discussion that was had today.
Okay.
They were-
But like removed from the roster in terms of like,
Forums and stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
They were originally, correct me if I'm wrong, those seats were originally created because of influence in getting the tax measure passed in the first place. So they were seen as influencers and either were active or not active. I don't know which the answer is. But once this advisory committee was formed, their interest either dropped off or went away completely. So I'm fine. Do we need to make a motion that would include hearing back from them that they wanted to be dropped off?
I mean, I'll reach
I'd
out.
just like to move it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't keep talking about this every month.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will, as discussed, either way, I will present what each of them had to say at the next meeting.
Do we need a motion for that at this point?
No, I can just do that.
Cool.
But I
Yeah.
have a question, like the legal counsel, you are telling us we cannot add members to the group. I'm on this committee for a long time, like SOS Roads originally was not there.
Right, there've been two.
And it was added, like, I don't know about the legal counsel opinion.
Let me check, I'll check back on it.
Have some way that somebody can be, somebody must be.
I will,
Then the administrative code that govern what defines would be utilized.
And there's a method for,
There is a method for that,
you can do it so many times.
correct?
Because I'm pretty close with Craig and SOS, I might add him to the list because they're really not interested in participating anymore. And
Yeah.
they don't have anybody that is willing to sit on this board since we lost, can't remember the gentleman's name.
Jeff Blakesley. Yeah.
Blakesley.
No, they're on the list.
Yeah. Oh, they are. So
Yeah, so they
Just-
would be considered.
so they're on, who is on the list? North Bay Labor Council,
Yep, I don't have.
Sonoma County Farm Bureau.
Realtors.
You mentioned Taxpayers Association, and
Taxpayers.
I was a dues paying member,
Tourism.
and I haven't heard anything from them in I don't know how many years, so.
I don't even see realtors on here.
No,
Oh, they're up there. I missed them.
Number 5.
SOS Roads. And aren't you representing the paratransit?
Yeah, and paratransit, we've got a representative, and also we have more options coming up with SB 707 and.
Okay, so we're at 6 that we're considering.
Yeah.
Cool. One final question, and you mentioned it on deciding the quorum. We can adjust the needed quorum at each meeting because of non-attendance?
That's what we have been doing.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
And we're able to do that. Legals said
Yeah,
that's
we
cool.
we checked that a while back.
And so that criteria is missing 3. Puts them outside of the quorum count.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think we beat this issue as much as we're going to beat it tonight. Thank you.
No.
Oh, no, not yet. Yes, go ahead.
Question.
All right.
I need some clarity on whether you can swap out people for the different agencies, so multiples could
Yes,
fit one? So you can do that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about organizations that they cannot send a representative. And the last thing, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to see if there's any other interest in anyone being involved in an ad hoc. I have Jerry.
Yeah, and before we go to that, one last question on the committee makeup. I've had people come up to me and ask to be considered to be on this committee. how do we deal with those requests?
In this case, I would, find a vacant organization and see if they have any connection or would be willing to make an introduction and represent that organization.
Okay, yeah, that they do, and they
Okay.
would, okay.
Represent their district.
There's a number of ways to do it, right? That's one of them. Yeah, anyways, now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One other question go along with that. I know you have to sign for all of this.
Yeah,
And,
I need one more.
yeah, and, it has our names on it. But when I can't make it, I find an officer or a member of the
Dominic,
club and say,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
you need a representative to show up. And so, and just make that clear to everybody that it's not us, it's the organization's representative.
That's correct. Yeah, that's allowable, definitely.
So now moving forward onto the ad hoc, do we need to vote on whether we want an ad hoc, or are we being directed to have an ad hoc?
We are gauging interest for people who would like to serve on an ad hoc. As far as I know.
Okay. And we don't have, if there's a lot of interest or a little interest, we as a committee don't have the ability to say we're not interested as a group.
I could certainly bring that message back.
John, why would you not be interested? It's ad hoc.
No, I mean, I could bring that message back to the exec committee.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah.
Why, I could explain. Anyways, go ahead.
Can we define what that ad hoc is for? I know there was some discussion.
Honestly, I need to get better definition. My impression, what was told to me was, basically collaborating with CAAC, with the climate side. So seeing if there's opportunities to join forces, be more efficient, add kind of to the brain trust between the two sides, in light of the new organization, how it's coming together.
Yeah, and if somebody could point out an example of where that would occur, I might change my position, but
Yeah.
I'm having trouble. Yes, ma'am.
And the CAAC, both are tasked with oversight of, or comments on actions that have to do with the strategic implementation plan. The strategic implementation plan for Go Sonoma. So when we update a strategic implementation plan, we take it to both this committee and the CAAC. At that point, you could have a joint meeting. And if we were looking for overlap, this is the kind of thing where we would bring you all together. You could all hear everyone's ideas in the same room and then give us your input. That's the kind of thing that would come before a joint group. It wouldn't be all the time, as far as I'm understanding. It would be, we're looking for ideas where bringing those two groups together might provide efficiency and solicit broader input from all of the groups back to the board.
So this isn't a monthly occurrence. This would be an as needed occurrence or as a possible occurrence.
I think that's what the ad hoc committee would determine.
Okay. Then I'd be interested in being on it.
It's ad hoc, and so the Brown doesn't actually apply.
Right, it's true.
But I'm still confused what I'm hearing from Shana, that the whole group will, have a joint meeting, right? Or
One suggestion.
Possibility.
If the ad hoc committee,
I'm saying that's one opportunity. The rest of the time, that's what the ad hoc would be looking at. Are there more opportunities like that where the groups could come together and talk about, because these things are being presented to both groups, these topics. So is it worthwhile to bring those groups together on a semi-regular or an annual basis, maybe, where you get the same information at the same time? These are the things that the ad hoc committee would consider, whether or not we could provide efficiencies by bringing both groups together.
okay, I'm interested.
And we're in charge of determining the size of this ad hoc committee as well as the climate change side of it. What is the size of this ad hoc committee? In other words, I'm just looking for, if they decide that we want to collaborate and bring something up, is it a 3-person ad hoc? So it's going to be a 2-to-1 vote? It can't be a tie vote or something? You follow what I'm asking, Shauna?
I mean, I didn't get the direction.
Yeah,
They didn't get into the weeds like that.
I was not given a number,
So
unfortunately.
that's something we could figure out at the ad hoc level, I suppose.
John?
Yeah.
If I may, I've worked in other places where we worked on public issues like this. When we establish an ad hoc committee, go work on how to figure out the funding. We have that from a number of different organizations that come together. They work on where the funding might come from. And they came from multiple organizations. Then they bring it back to each one of their organizations. It's not something that says you're going to meet together every month. It says we're finding issues that we have in common that we're both trying to solve. And transportation, by the way, you know, from a climate point of view, transportation for our county is one of the biggest issues. Okay, is there something in transportation that they might see that want to have us discuss or have us work on together? It's ad hoc, and ad hoc actually does mean ad hoc. It has a place that says, let's see if there's things that jointly we do better than if we did separately. We might still sit in our own organizations and discuss them, but we'll both discuss them and we will have brought back what they said to us and what we say to them. And that's what the ad hoc committee does.
Fair enough.
Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think you gauged the interest properly.
I think
Thank you guys for.
Thank you very much.
Exercise.
Pardon me. No,
Well, you can take me seriously or you can not take me seriously, sir. How I am dressed has nothing to do with what's in my brain.
You have plenty of room.
Good afternoon, committee members. I'm here today to introduce the city of Sonoma. They are here to give you the Go Sonoma project presentation today. But we also have another item immediately following that, which has to do with a proposed scope change on the very same project. So what I'm going to do is introduce Ashley. She's going to give her presentation. I'm going to respectfully ask that you hold all of your questions until she is finished her presentation. But keep in mind that after this, we are going to be asking you to consider providing comments on that scope change. So the scope change, staff is looking as staff is appreciative and is supportive of the proposed scope change. So just keep that in mind as Ashley gives her presentation, and then you can ask questions when she's done. Does that make sense? And then we will ask you for any additional input you have, particularly on the scope change itself.
If there's any scope changes of the scope changes, would you let us know, staff?
With that, I'll introduce Ashley Cotter.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. I'm going to present on our project, our citywide bicycle and pedestrian improvements project. And we're just going to go over our proposed changes. So first, our project location, the overall project overview, we have improvements taking place across the entire city. So currently, the current scope, which has yet to be amended, was originally submitted with one application in 2021 for SCTA Cycle 1 funding, and we were awarded $1.6 million in construction funding allocation. This includes the current scope is a raised crosswalk at the bike crossing on Unibro Sarah, crossing improvements at 5th Street West bike path crossing, pedestrian upgrades at 5th Street West and Studley Street, and bike path crossing improvements across various locations at the Sonoma Bike Path. And this also includes a Class 1 trail at the Sasserini School Path, which is what we will be focusing on today. The Sasserini School Path was in the city's 2008 Bike Ped Master Plan and has previously been presented as a Safe Routes to School project. The original intention of the 2021 Cycle 1 funding was to create a high-quality bicycle and pedestrian network, provide a safe and well-maintained transportation infrastructure for pedestrians and cyclists, and to focus on strategies that support a walkable community and prioritize zero-emission strategies. So we'll come back to the original intent of this grant later. So this is our new revised scope that we're proposing. We are prioritizing the major elements of this project, and that includes essentially things that city forces would not be able to accomplish by themselves. And so part of that is the raised crosswalk on Unibrow Sarah, crossing improvements at Fifth Street West, and the Fifth Street West bike crossing, pedestrian crossing upgrades at Fifth Street West and Studley Street. And then we are proposing to reduce 3 bike path crossings and remove the Sasserini School path and replace it with the Third Street West Bike Boulevard. A number of these projects are going to get, or elements are going to get shifted to bid alternatives, which means we will still have 100% design. And so if the city decides to do it themselves, which we've done a number of curb ramp improvements and installed actually a tier 2 ATP project. We did rectangular rapid flashing beacons at Third Street West. So these are elements that city can do by itself, but we will have a fully informed project design. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind when we revisit some of the bid alternatives, because that's part of this. And then the other part is removing the Sasserini School path and adding in the Third Street West Bike Boulevard. Part of the reason we're doing that is through public input. As we started the design on this project, we've been getting public input that's not super supportive of the Sasserini School path. And part of that is its alignment, where it lines up on the Sasserini School campus. It kind of dead ends close to a preschool. So that's a concern. There was also a local grassroots effort to enhance the overall connectivity of the city's bike paths. And the Sasserini School path was found insufficient because it was a dead end. And then lastly, the 2025 ATP changed the name of this project. It used to be the Sasserini School Path. That's what it had been since the 2008 Bike Ped Master Plan. And now it is the path extension off of Andrick Street on 4th Street West, which if you know the city of Sonoma, you know Friar Creek splits that. And so there is currently a desire pathway where that is, but unfortunately it's not a very good fit for this project at this time. It would include significant right-of-way acquisition because the desire pathway actually crosses over onto a significant amount of private property. And additionally, constructing a path at this location would require it to encroach into the creek. So it would not be CEQA exempt. And so that's a whole other additional process that informed our decision-making in terms of removing the school path. It's just not very feasible at the time at where the project is currently. And where we are currently is we're about 90% through design. So this is the proposed bike boulevard. As you can see here on this graphic, it actually connects the Friar Creek Trail to the Sonoma bike path. These are the two most well-used bike paths in the city of Sonoma, and there's currently no connector. One runs north-south, the other runs east to west, but there's not a really great way to access one if you're using one to get up and access the other through the city of Sonoma. And so this is a proposed connector, which we feel poses an incredible value to the city, more so than the Sasserini School path, which is really aimed more as a safe routes to school. And this poses more community-wide benefit. And then this is, I just made some edits to our current project sheet. This is what you currently, without the red markings, you would see on our Go Sonoma fact sheet. So just making some changes so you can see the changes that are currently proposed. The biggest of which is the elimination of the path. And then selection criteria. How do we get to the Sasserini or the 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard from the Sasserini School path? So there were a couple things that staff looked at in order to come up with this project. One is it had to be in the ATP. So we took a critical look at all of the different projects that were listed on the active transportation plan. We had to keep in mind that the remainder of this project is at 90% design, which is a critical factor in terms of picking something that can be expediently put together to meet our goal of going to construction in 2026. June of 2026 is the current goal. And part of those were excluding any projects on Caltrans facilities, not including any projects that were aimed at planning and feasibility studies because our grant funding is for a construction allocation. And then any kind of project that could possibly add in a significant amount of right-of-way issues or acquisition that needed to happen. And then we also wanted it to be a commensurate level of effort with the Sasserini school path. Additionally, one of the things that came to our attention while we were making the selection, the city had applied for the UC Berkeley Safe Trek Complete Streets Safety Assessment, and we were selected in early 2025 and actually had a traffic engineer consultant come through and look at problem areas with the city and gave us a complete street safety assessment. This came in around August of 2025. The active transportation plan was adopted in January of 2025. So this obviously wasn't a consideration when the active transportation plan was put in place. And this recommended 3rd Street as an ideal bike boulevard. And so because of that, even though this is the 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard is actually a tier 3 project in our active transportation plan, with the consideration of the incredible benefit that this is going to give to the residents of the city, as well as the complete street safety assessment recommending it as a great bike boulevard, we felt that it reprioritized it to, it should be a tier 1 project with that additional assessment. And that's why we're prioritizing the project. So this is a concept view, and I just keep in mind that right now, because the amendment hasn't been approved, we don't have a full design on the bike boulevard. So we just have concept, and this is a concept view. This does include a lot of traffic calming elements. The active transportation plan bike boulevard does not actually prescribe traffic calming for the 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard, but we had just brought our West Spain Street Bike Boulevard project to council. And we're repaving a part of the West Main Street and adding some bike boulevard elements in. And some of the feedback we got was that this would be so much better with traffic calming. And so hearing that, we are adding several elements of traffic calming to make this shared facility successful. We also believe that these elements that are proposed are still going to fit under our current CEQA exemption. The notice of exemption hasn't been filed yet, but we plan on filing it soon. Hopefully after the amendment gets approved. And those are exempt under class 1 through 4, which is great. So we don't want to mess with that either. That's another consideration. Believe that these additional elements will also fit into that CEQA exemption. So what are the traffic calling elements? We have quite a few. So key and critical, we have the neighborhood traffic calming circle at Perkins Street. We're also adding fog lines to narrow the road. We're not adding bike lanes. We will be adding sharrows, as this is meant to be a shared facility. We are adding painted bulb outs at Betancourt Street, Andrick Street, leading up to West Napa on 3rd Street West, and at West Main Street and 3rd Street West. We're also including bike boulevard signage. We have speed cushions also leading up to 3rd Street West, or leading up to West Napa on 3rd Street West and right after West Napa on 3rd Street West. We are not addressing improvements on the Caltrans right away at this time, so that's not included on the project. However, there is a hawk there at that intersection of 3rd Street West and West Napa. Additionally, the existing data from the traffic engineer does show some speeding on this area. However, it is currently a lower stress environment, which is ideal for a bike boulevard. And so those shared facilities will function better on a road with lower volumes. And we are anticipating that level of traffic stress will be reduced with these improvements. We did take this to our City Traffic Safety Committee on October 7th and received very positive feedback. One of the things that we heard back was from Tim Zahner, the executive director of the city's Visitors Bureau. And he was very supportive of the project and also added that wayfinding signs might be a good addition to the project. So we are planning on adding those in for visitors who are not super familiar with the city, who are visiting and are looking for a low stress environment, not like Broadway or 5th Street West, to make their way down to the plaza. Oh, and then also buffered bike lanes came up as a suggestion. And so just to highlight, buffered bike lanes are not part of this project. Buffered bike lanes are, I'll go back. But just to highlight buffered bike lanes, just to highlight some of the feedback we got, buffered bike lanes aren't part of this because it's kind of a different project, and the ATP does prescribe an active bike boulevard, which is more of a shared facility. Then we're just going to dive into some of our current designs. So these are pictures from our 50% plan design. Our are approaching 90%. We're not quite there yet, so we don't have that, but this is our 50% design. And we're going to go over all of the elements that we currently have. So as you see here, this we got the raised crosswalk on Unibrow Sarah, as well as improvements on Fifth Street West. And this is the main bike crossing on Fifth Street West. Both of these are included in the core bid, not currently bid alternatives. And then we have First Street West and First Street East. These include intersection improvements as well as RRFBs. These are currently bid alternatives, but as I mentioned before, the city has put a lot of effort into doing curb ramp replacements. Currently, we've installed an RRFB system of our own on Third Street West, which is actually a Tier 2 active transportation plan project, which we did. And so we are confident that if this doesn't make it into the construction allocation, just depending on how much this project comes in at and it needs to be reduced, that we are confident we'll be able to do these by ourselves. And then we also have Second Street East and West Main Street, 7th Street West. West Main Street, 7th Street West, actually that intersection doesn't exist yet. And so that is something that we are planning on putting in. These are both bid alternatives as well. And 7th Street West would probably be one of the first to come off that list of bid alternatives and make it into construction, assuming the bid comes in with money to spare, which is always the hope. And then we have our improvements at Fifth Street West and Studley Street. This is actually on our high injury network. And so this is a key and critical priority of the city to get this done. And this includes bulb outs at the intersection of Studley and Fifth Street. It's kind of a T intersection, so not an all-way stop, as well as an RRFB. There's currently an inlaid flasher system there that is really hard to maintain and doesn't work half the time. So we're going to put in an RRFB instead. And then now, and I did run through those relatively quickly. So if you guys want me to go back and review some of the design elements, I have no problem doing that. So for our schedule, anticipating the amendment getting approved, that will wrap up scoping for this will be completed. So that'll be done at the end of December. Environmental will be done shortly after that because the CEQA memo is pretty much done. It just needs to be revised to include the 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard at this point. Design will be done shortly after that because this is a project that our design engineer can throw together relatively quickly, which is good. Right of way, we will not need to do any more right of way. Right of way was there to deal with the Sasserini School path because it's on the school district property. But if pending the approval of this amendment, it gets removed, we won't have any additional right of way needs. And construction is currently planned for June of 2026. And then the cost. What is all of this going to cost? So we currently have a design contract with GHD for about $382,000, and that includes scoping and environmental. When we looked at our 50% cost estimate for the Sasserini School path, that was about $766,000. The current cost estimate for the 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard is about $814,000. And these are both with 25% contingencies. We're intending for that to go down as design progresses. But at this stage of engineering, they have a high contingency. So this represents about a $47,000 increase. However, we do have right-of-way money that now we no longer need because we don't need any right-of-way acquisition, which drops the additional funding gap to $17,500, which is doable with a capital improvement program plan amendment to the city council if it is needed. The total available for construction is $1,837,000. And this total here doesn't reflect the added right-of-way money. So in an updated project report following hopefully the approval of this amendment, I can adjust all of those numbers to reflect how that money has changed. That's it. Questions?
I found it really hard. I couldn't really see the detail of the changes and so forth. So I'm just, there's really nothing we can do unless you guys can see it on your computer screens. Yeah.
That's what it's at.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jerry.
Small diagram.
Yeah.
I have a fast question. So I was trying to follow it. We had the handout, just a small diagram.
There's a link to all of the materials.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oops.
You know, I read these things and I don't put no links. Okay. Is there parking on the 3rd?
Yes, there is currently parking and it is mixed use residential, commercial. So we didn't want to reduce parking if at all possible.
And you said that the bike lanes will not be buffered?
There are no bike lanes. It is a shared facility, so we'll have Sharrow striping. And then the traffic calming elements will,
Oh, I see.
yeah, will make for a more lower stress environment.
I'm kind of ignorant about these things. So the bikes basically go on the same road that the cars do.
That is correct.
And so the main Sharrow aspect is the green boxes at the corners and things so that cars know when they are invading the.
Yeah, we've added quite a few traffic calming elements that are currently not present. So 3rd Street West doesn't have any bicycle facilities whatsoever, bike lanes or sharrows, and there's also no traffic calming on it currently. It's a neighborhood road that has commercial traffic in terms of dentists, doctors. That's a big reason we don't want to retract parking on that area is because they're mostly medical facilities that are on that street. And the Sharrows are a shared facility, but we do believe the level of stress will be significantly reduced with all of these traffic calming elements.
Tom.
Regarding 3rd Street, is the existing traffic volume what's considered consistent for Bike Boulevard application?
Yes, so our general plan update has it listed as a neighborhood street. We're estimated probably about 1,800 average daily traffic volume. So there's not a whole lot compared to like, say, West Spain Street, which is identified as a bike boulevard in our active transportation plan. And we are making those improvements. However, that average daily traffic volume is probably about 10,000.
And were traffic diverters ever considered?
I don't understand.
Somebody going down the street can't go straight, they have to turn.
So we do have we are reversing stop controls on that. So instead of having the stop controls on 3rd Street West, we're moving them to on a few different, they're not necessarily diverting traffic, but making it easier for cyclists and giving priority. So not necessarily traffic diverters for this road. Because again, we also have the commercial facilities there. So people are going to need to be able to get in and utilize the dentists, the doctors' offices that are there as well. Sorry if I'm not understanding your.
So you said there were 2 intersections prioritized for cyclists. Is that light control? Traffic light or?
No, we're reversing the stop control. So the stop that was currently on 3rd Street West, the stop sign was on 3rd Street West that would halt traffic on 3rd Street West is now being moved to Andrick Street. So that they have the stop, which will give priority to the cyclists and pedestrians on 3rd Street West.
I see.
Yeah.
And is the speed limit lowered?
The speed limit is 25, but we did just go to a very handy dandy speed limit session. And so that is something that we can consider, but it's not necessarily part of this project at this time.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get to our remote friend in a second, Carol.
Oh, on the diagram of the 5th Street West crossing, I didn't understand what it was crossing. Where on 5th Street is that?
So we have 2 crossing improvements on 5th Street West. 5th Street West is probably one of the closest things we have to an arterial in Sonoma. So one of the ones is our bike path crossing on 5th Street West, and that is just up from the West Spain Street headed towards Verano. I'd say what I'm talking about.
I walk there every week, yeah.
Okay, great. So that is where we're having crossing improvements at that bike path crossing. So that has another inlaid flasher system that's going to come out, and we're going to put RRFBs in there as well as making those crossings ADA compliant. And then the bigger improvement is actually right next to Safeway. There's that a driveway, Safeway's driveway, which is right across from Studley Street, and it's a pretty precarious pedestrian crossing. And so we're adding bulb outs there to add visibility to pedestrians that are crossing. And then we're also ripping out that flasher system and putting in RRFBs. We find that they're more effective and they're a lot easier to maintain. So.
Excellent. Now, when you take a right there, Safeway diagonally across from me, there's a really dangerous bicycle situation on the other side of the block of the Safeway. So I'm just kind of curious about how we can make sure bicyclists aren't gonna go off the path there. I mean, does that make sense? There's a dangerous situation within a block of that bike path, but they'd have to actively get off the bike path to get there. I don't know if we could put up a sign that says danger or, what could be done.
We could incorporate like wayfinding signs in that area. That was a suggestion from the executive of the Visitors Bureau, trying to get people onto the bike boulevard, letting them know that there are, lower stress alternatives than Broadway and Fifth Street West. Having one on Broadway, I've seen many a tourist on lodge bicycles trying to make it down on Broadway. So them knowing that there is an alternative would be good. And so that could be a good location for that as well.
Oh, good, excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, thank you. And Ashley, I'm over here over your shoulder. Good job. Well done. Sorry, I couldn't be there. We do support this project. We think this is great. There is a trail to the south of town and north of town that will connect, not only for visitors, but also we recommend, or we assume that 25% of people on the plaza could bike to work, which would free up some parking issues as well. So we really want this, and we do want to reiterate that the way to slow down traffic would be to make sure the travel lanes are really suggesting to people that they slow down and they're not speeding through, because there are a lot of seniors and people who use mobility devices that live along this 3rd Street corridor. So we support it, and we're glad the city's doing it.
I had trouble hearing that. Was there a response that we
He
need?
supports it.
Okay, thank you. Did you have something?
He supports
David?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the raised crosswalk was, but I guess basically that's a wide speed bump. It's what you're.
Yeah.
It's not a bridge. It's
No, not a
okay.
bridge. It functions.
That was a bit ambiguous as to what that was, but why is that? Do you have other raised crosswalks in your plan, or this is the first one?
This is the first one. And so it's the only one that we'll have in this, I think it's the only one currently that we will have planned in the city. So, yeah, we haven't tried it before, but it'll be a good case study because that is a pretty busy intersection, Unipro Sarah.
Because it doesn't look like that would be a high traffic street. I mean, the block, a block closer to Highway 12, does it?
It is, and it is used as a cut through to get from Unipro. So Unipro Sarah connects West Main Street up to
Verano.
Yeah,
right.
so it has become a very popular cut through.
It's become the
Fifth Street West.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the faster you guys can get this to bid, you'll just erase that $17,500 deficit. The contractors out there are hungry right now. So you go to bid, you're gonna see your engineer's estimate undercut in a big way. Good time to go to bid.
But how soon can they get to bid? It's
Oh,
talking.
she could put it out Mike can put it out tomorrow. He's got the power of the pen. No.
We're very close. The project is at 90% design. So the remaining element is to finish the remaining 10% on all the other elements and then do design on this bike boulevard. 'Cause as I mentioned, it's concept only, but we're anticipating that can be done in Q1 2026. We want to start construction in June of 2026. So that's obviously, it's going to need to go out to bid a couple months before because contracts can take a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, David.
Yeah, how do you actually if you get up to the north end of West Third? Then you've got the Vallejo Home Park there. How do you get to the trail that's up on the old rail right away?
That is maintained by California State Parks.
Okay.
So
So you use that
yes,
street that goes to Vallejo Home.
yes. It's a very popular bike pedestrian walkway. A car can technically get through it, but you very rarely see vehicular traffic on that. It's usually a park ranger. Yeah, so local traffic is not allowed.
Carol.
Just as background for this group, you were talking about it looks like a small street. Cycle tourism is a big deal, so we have a lot of cyclists and some on electric bikes who have no idea where they are. And so this is a very important project, yes, to get people to work, as the gentleman was saying, but also in terms of our industry, which is tourism, main industry, I think. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Nice report.
Great.
Excellent.
So with that, Mr. Chair, so
You need an action item, don't you?
well, it's less of an action, and I'm just gonna collect some additional comments if you have any that you would like to forward to the board. As I said,
you did this last month. We talked about a scope change for the Airport Boulevard project. So you're familiar with this process. We're asking you for comments on the idea of accepting the scope, of promoting the scope change to the board. Staff supports the scope change. We would like to take any additional input that you have about the scope change to the board. So if you have comments for us at this time, now would be the time to tell us.
Scene one.
I second the comment about contractors being hungry. Construction materials are also at a pretty low price point these days too.
Bid.
So I would say get to bid.
Great.
So with that, I don't think you see any conflict with these scope changes from this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I found the link. 85 pages of notes in that.
She shamed us too, Jerry. She shamed us. I bet Tom
Find the link.
I'll bet Tom found the link. Tom would have found it, right? Oh, Cotland.
Should have been the link.
All right, thank you. Let's see, what are we up to? Brenton, are you up?
Thank you for your.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Put it out to bid before the first of the year, Mike. You won't be sorry.
Try our best.
All right.
Excellent project.
Yeah, good.
Just the links in the agenda.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
All right.
What are you dressed as?
Me.
Oh,
Just
okay.
back from vacation. No Halloween costume. Yes. Okay, let's see. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. This is the Measure M and Go Sonoma financials for the month of September. Just a moment. My remote's not working. It looks
It
like.
had a warning up there a second ago too, so
Oh, it did?
I don't know.
Oh.
There you go.
I'm live. Okay. So one thing to note is that the Go Sonoma and the Measure M balance sheets and cash flow reports were reversed in this month, and that's because the Go Sonoma is now the primary tax and the Measure M is our legacy. So starting with Go Sonoma, the slides will also be in the flip-flopped order. Starting with Go Sonoma, revenues were $2,591,194 in September. And those are the entirety of year-to-date revenues so far. And the expenses for September, pretty quiet, $102,539. And our cash balance for Go Sonoma is $10,653,855. So the September revenues were all sales tax revenues. This was the July sales tax payment or receipt. And this is the first sales tax receipt for the current fiscal year. And this slide, I need to change the title. This says Measure M, but it's Go Sonoma now. This slide shows the year-over-year comparison for this September payment. As you can see, we are 2.5% higher this year than we were in 2024 in September, which is good news. And the year-to-date earned and taxes received in September are the same number because this was the first payment for the fiscal year. Our year-to-date received include the 3 tax payments that we received in this fiscal year, even though the first 2 payments were fiscal year 24-25 dollars. And our total of $8,017,000 is down just 0.6% from where we were last year. So things are trending in the right direction. At least this month they are. Our September expenses were low, the $102,000. That was primarily consultant services, $70,164, and the remainder being staff time. We will have larger expenses coming up probably at the next meeting, but it's possible it'll take one more meeting, and those will be the Go Sonoma roads and transit distribution. It just depends whether we get it out in time for the EFS cutoff or at the start of the following week. Now we move on to the Measure M financials. There were no revenues for Measure M in September 2025, and expenses were $97,825 with year-to-date expenses of just over $172,000. And Measure M is still sitting on a cash balance of $78,796,162. So say no September revenues. The interest payment, which will be pretty much revenues for Measure M going forward, will be split between interest received as well as reimbursable programs. Interest payments should be received in the month of October. So we'll see those next time. And the September expenses of $97,000 were split pretty evenly between consulting services, $49,000, and just under $42,000 for staff time. And that concludes my presentation.
I'm just always amazed at how close the sales tax revenue is from projections and from year to year. It just doesn't seem to be deflected much, no matter what's happening in the world. I'm just amazed by that. Yeah, Jerry, go.
Based on what inflation rate is right now?
I don't know that at this time, no.
I was wondering if we're keeping up with it or not.
We have our meeting with our HDL sales tax consultants later this week, so we might have more information at the next meeting.
You mean that's the 70,000?
Yeah, some of it, yeah. Hopefully not the whole 70,000.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, thank you.
Hello again.
Hello.
We'll give a very brief update. Just on the comprehensive transportation plan engagement process, I will share my screen. I can do it and probably go faster. There we go. All right, so public engagement was a key component of the comprehensive transportation plan, this update that we are in the process of right now. We want to be sure that the plan reflects the diverse needs, priorities, and the goals of Sonoma County residents. So this outreach process was designed to be inclusive, equitable, and responsive, and really focused on seeking feedback, not outback, from all areas of Sonoma County. So these goals align with the broader objectives of the community-based transportation planning, CBTP, as well as the CTP's vision of a more connected, equitable, and sustainable transportation system. And this really, this just a little bit, if you're not familiar with the comprehensive transportation plan, this document really helps determine the priorities for the agency, and is, as I tell people when we're reaching out for a survey, this isn't just yet another survey. This will determine priorities for, say, the SCTCA funding program, and it will really help determine what projects get funded in their community. So the engagement strategy followed a phased multimodal approach that emphasized listening and collaboration. A big part of that was building on existing plans as well as the CTP. So this is truly an update. So the outreach was a little bit of a smaller scale, but a lot has changed since the last time we did this, which was just barely pre-pandemic, I think, right around there.
It was done in 2021.
Yeah.
It started before the pandemic.
So there's been some big factors there. So we really want to kind of capture that change. So target audiences, outreach efforts were tailored to engage a wide range of stakeholders, as shown here. And just a little bit of info kind of speaking to the current state of engagement. We really had to rely on our CBOs as well. So for instance, like in the North County, Cloverdale, Geyserville, there's an organization called La Familia Sana. We wanted to do an event with them. They said, you have a government event in public, no one is going to show up. There's very much kind of a culture of fear right now. So we, said, okay, we understand. So we made sure that the survey was bilingual, but also anonymous, and worked with them to incentivize it and basically had them actually send out the surveys to people. And we ended up getting over 30 responses from that, full responses from that community, even though everyone was very hesitant to show up in person. Tools and tactics, it was not just me with the table here, but that was certainly part of it. We tried to be part of existing events, things, obviously, you know, farmers markets on one side of the occasion to like fix-it fairs in West County on the other side. Social media was big. You know, getting the newsletter out, or not the newsletter, our newsletter, but the survey, a big part of it was leverage. So, you know, using our partner organizations that have much wider reach than we do to share that was very key. So thank you to all of them. And in the end, we received nearly 700 full responses. And so had some people say, well, that's a very small part of the community. It is, but for what we normally do, it's pretty darn good. So that includes, you know, almost 600 of those had long form responses. So we're still in the process of kind of sorting through those trends, but I'll give you a little snapshot of that in a second. So the timeline, basically it's 4 phases: reviewing the past plans, and then the outreach, which I just described. The next will be sharing the draft CTP. We're going to have a workshop here. And incorporate that feedback. Eventually it will come back to the committees and to the board, and eventually publicly released with some physical copies, primarily digital. There will be a bilingual option there as well. So key findings, as you can see, strong support, transit, biking, is that hiding that? Walking over driving. A lot of people are interested in using active transportation. However, they are very safety concerned. So there is a lot of fear about, you know, making sure that they're riding on safe streets. Transit, a lot of people would like to use transit, just more frequent, faster headways. But certainly, you know, excitement for it. EV adoption, I'll show you something in a second. There's enthusiasm in some ways, and obviously we're going to have all this broken down in the report, much more detailed. So just a snapshot related to that one. EV adoption, financial incentives are really the big part of what will make people make that change. Although access to charging is obviously a big part of that as well. Some interest in e-bikes, however, the safety concerns are there too. And then just reducing car use in general, more frequent transit, later hours, earlier hours. And then as we know from this group, SRJC had quite the campaign looking at the Clipper Bay Pass and things like that. And they definitely gave us a lot of response here, which was good. And yeah, free transit, discounted transit is big. And then just equity in transportation. And in this case, we're kind of looking at geographic equity. I've got a picture here of the Springs, and I got a picture here of West County. And that was a big part of it. There's, you know, we have a lot of enthusiasm for options on the 101 corridor, but we heard from a lot of people that on either the west side or the east side of that want to be part of that. But there's some challenges there. Exactly. So that's certainly something we heard as well. Demographics overview, participation from both older adults and younger residents. I think that JC session that we did was a big part of the younger part of that. Mix of employment status, income levels a little bit lower. So the majority were households under 50,000. So definitely did approach kind of compared to the Sonoma County average. Some lower income brackets. And then geographic reach, as I mentioned, we did events, at least one event in each of the jurisdictions in the county, and often multiple. And then this question came up, and I think it's a very good one at the last time we presented this. How is this all going to be aligned into the document? And I think it's, the feedback's gonna guide development of the final plan. But then, as I mentioned earlier, the scoring criteria for the SCTCA funding program. And as this is a limited update, building on the previous CTP, the public input is used to just make sure the goals and priorities are still relevant, that we're still going in the right direction. So next steps, we'll have the draft out relatively soon for review and input. We'll have some events surrounding that, and we'll be back to the CAC with that as well. And then promoting the plan and getting it out there. So please let me know if you have any questions regarding the outreach process. Yes, sir.
What is the process for reaching out to businesses for their feedback?
So businesses, I mean, ideally we're, in this case, hoping that they got caught up in just kind of the general survey outreach, getting it out there. Certainly emailed out to the Chamber of Commerce's and various organizations.
Kind of rely on them to distribute.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the, we have them on both kind of CBO lists and business lists, and certainly, but a lot of that was just big emailing communication like that.
Okay, well, with 700 responses, obviously.
Yeah.
Somebody got the message and had.
But that's, very, we very much want that.
Yeah,
Want that response.
Thank you. Jerry.
A couple questions.
Yep.
Just one statement that I'll be curious to see what happens when we survey next time about EVs, because we're pretty close to parity on the cost on EVs versus gas. And it's that people changing how they drive is the hardest part at this point. And the incentives made it say, I feel like I just got a deal. The deal's not there anymore. But yeah. We're close to parity. Are you able
Both tax and HOV lane.
Yeah,
Details.
well, HOV lanes is right. Yeah, that's a good point. Are you able to incorporate some of the mascots input from those meetings into your?
I have, in what you're seeing here now, this is straight survey data.
Okay.
Yeah. However, we will have access to
Yeah,
that.
because I would guess that there's quite a bit of, when I talk to people about mascots when I'm riding on transit, they have all kinds of opinions and things that they want to see and what's most important to them. And one thing about, John, the outreach to employers, one of the things that we did in the South Bay, which was easier, if we have 2 or 3 major employers, which we probably do in healthcare, that would be a place just to knock on the door.
That was yeah, that's kind of what it might.
South Bay, you go to see Google, see Apple, and you've covered everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Tom.
So all the incorporated jurisdictions have bike pedestrian plans, as does the county. How does this work with that? Does this, once they have their plans and their priority list of projects, of a wish list, and they come to you for funding, does your CTP govern how things get awarded?
It does, and I'm gonna let Chris weigh in a second, but my interpretation is that this is a little bit broader. And that the ATP work is gonna be a little more zoomed in, but I'll let Chris say it.
Yeah, the CTP is really looking at a financially unconstrained list of need across the county. So the way the CTP works or interfaces with the ATPs all feed into the CTP. CTP is kind of a higher level document and refers directly to the list of smaller projects in the ATPs under that umbrella. If there's any really big active transportation project that has a price tag of $1 million or more, we list it specifically in the CTP. So that's kind of the first stop for, having a project in a plan when you're applying for different grant money or going after SCTCA funding program money, is having it in our CTP. As part of the funding program call for projects that David and Shauna released earlier this year, there's a scoring criteria associated with that. And there are questions in that scoring criteria that tie back to the goals in the CTP. So first you need to have it in the plan. Then the jurisdictions submit those priority projects as part of the funding program, and then it's scored using criteria, all sorts of criteria, some of which are tied to the, goals and vision and objectives listed out in the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, Angela.
Yeah, on the input demographics, did you get percentages on your responses?
Well, it's self-reported. So, we do have data and we did ask. I'd have to take a look. I don't know offhand, but I have a feeling. Well, actually, I don't want to just give my feeling. I can get you that data directly.
Come
You
on,
did attempt
express
to
your
track it.
feeling.
We did. I mean, it was not the actual transportation questions were required, but we'd asked about, where folks lived by zip code, income levels, how they would identify,
Age.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, we do have that and that will be included in the plan.
Oh, right.
Not everyone reported it, but many did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it.
Okay, well, I got interested in all these transportation issues back in 2004 when the JC was proposing to build the parking structure. And I knew from experience, the issue is not that there are too many people in Sonoma County. There's too many people who live too far from where they need to be during the day. And so I became an advocate for housing at the JC. And, I'm representing here the Transportation Land Use Coalition. Well, land use relates to where you put the housing, And the JC, I've spoken to that board many times about how, they spent 60,000, they added 600 parking spaces in that garage because it wiped out the parking lot was already there. So 600 for $38 million. That's $60,000 of parking space. And I think they could have built dorm rooms for that price, but that question of housing, but the current thing that's coming up at the JC, they're just going out to bid for the 101 overcrossing, a way to get people to the JC without having to plug up Mendocino Avenue with traffic. But in fact, that garage became a magnet to put more cars on Mendocino. And if you look at a map, the parking at Cottingtown is closer than the parking garage is to most of the classrooms. And so this overcrossing, and now that SMART is running, potentially is going to have an impact on how kids get to school, although it's kind of a long hike. And what could...
They're young.
Yeah. Anyway, but the fact though that this overcrossing has taken 20 plus years and has gone to now a $48 million budget for crossing 225 feet of Caltrans right away. They could have done it, I believe, with a prefab steel bridge that could have been swung in place in one night. The real cost is in the approaches because you're starting at street level and you got to get up. But SCTA has helped to make this a $48 million project. And I think it could have been done for a lot less.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of. I'm blaming it on Ross. I was you threw us for a little curveball at the beginning. Anyways.
There was not a big decision at the end of.
No, there wasn't. All right.
Just a quick announcement. Good news is always appreciated, and I am happy to report that Caltrans has opened the Arroyo Seco Bridge on Highway 121 a week early. They had a 30-day full closure, 24/7. So they've been working around the clock, and they are done, and the road is open.
Awesome. Thank you, Shauna. Good stuff. All right. We're adjourned.